Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Football is Fixable Alright podcast with me, James, and I've got Sess and Dan here. How are you guys? You alright?
Alright.
Hey, the old alright, eh?
Alright. You're right. Alright.
Well, look, that was like last month. We're not doing that again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How are you guys? Good weeks?
I'm loving the weather.
It's been alright, isn't it? It's
been more than alright. More than alright.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
alright.
alright.
Should we
Do you know what's not alright?
Right, start this episode again. No, yeah, it's been alright. Well, you say that. I have actually been ill this last couple of days. I've got like man flu or something.
Yeah.
You might be able to hear it.
Yeah, you're not making a meal of it or anything, so it's
No,
fine.
Not like you at all, James. No. Definitely not. So
I'm never ill. Sess is
right.
like, he had a cough for 6 months, for crying out loud.
I remember when we used to live together. I'm never ill. All right. What's that then?
No, I wasn't ill.
maybe
That's what I never say. I get sunburnt, but
That was amazing when you had that. It was just basically, I thought he was wearing a red T-shirt, and he was like, no, it's not sunburn, it's a tan.
Oh, don't bring up sunburn. Don't bring up sunburn. So
once again, Dan can take this to another level.
right. Yeah. So James wants to. I foolishly thought it'd be a good idea to go on holiday with James. We did like
Good times.
interrailing and stuff around Europe, but we had to do a beach resort. Now, for those that obviously can't see me, I know I sound sexy as hell, but I am a pasty ginger man, so I don't do well in the sunshine.
Very
but
pasty.
James was
Yeah.
insistent on going to the beach, so we had a beach resort. We went to Nice, right? And this was in like August time, summer. It was about 40 degrees
It's
there, or
beautiful,
something
wasn't it?
mad.
It was like 36, I think.
We
it
also,
was.
unfortunately, lived together at the time as well, and we decided to do our like shopping for holiday together as well to save a bit of money. And
We'll share that. Yeah.
And James thought it'd be a really good idea to share sun cream, and I was like, well, this isn't going to work. I need to have like pharmaceutical levels of factor
Factor
Yeah.
500.
And James is just like, I could just put oil on my skin. It would be great. So James's middle ground was
I
like
was factor 15, I think. I
Yeah,
always went
factor
for. And Dan
50.
was like, "Are you sure that will be all right for me?"
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
I think you applied.
I think I remember saying, if you just apply it more times, it will be fine.
Yeah, that's what you said.
That's not how it works.
If you apply it twice as much, it's double the strength. So if you just apply it a lot, it'll be like a 30.
That's not true.
And I was.
If
sold
anyone
by
else
this.
listening who's thinking about applying sun cream, that's not how it works.
So-
Make sure you look after yourself.
I was sold by this, absolutely sold, and I was too trusting, naive, very naive. I've learnt, obviously. And when we went out, we were in Nice. It's 40 degrees, and I'm putting on this factor 15. I must be putting it on every 10 minutes. In like, I'm getting like, I'm getting panic attacks from the heat. I'm just like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. The people on the beach must have thought I was
remember
crazy.
you asking me, were they on the beach?
Applying cream
Am I
every
burnt?
10 minutes, Anyways, I could almost feel it. Like there was practically smoke coming off of me. It was like I was in an oven. I'm pretty sure the rest of the beach could smell bacon. But as I was,
wow.
Well, yeah, I thought there was a barbecue, but there wasn't.
so I've got back to the thing, and literally within like an hour, I am purple. I'm talking purple.
Genuinely,
From
not
the-
red. It was the red was
Yeah.
such a deep red. It's purple.
Wow.
And it's
to the point where
Is it wrong to say I would have really wanted to slap that?
everybody did. We were staying in a hostel at the time, and it was like there was like a communal like dinner thing in the evening, so we got like a free meal. So
oh yeah, I remember now.
we were
Yeah.
all at this meal thing, and there was loads of them, and
You were like the freak show.
literally everyone's like, "Are you the guy with the burn?" It was that level of bad that word had got about. That,
Oh, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Wow.
and I've never had to get take my top off so many times in one evening. It was.
When I was in
It was
when I was in
insane.
Australia, I was traveling with this German guy, and he lost our sun cream when we were farming. There's no shops or anything nearby, and like nearest town was like 4 hours away. So we thought, all right, we'll have to work for the next week or so before we do shopping again without sun lotion. We went dark. Oh wow. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, that
just
was
say Dan
incredible.
would have sizzled.
You would have been our dinner. Yeah. If you were our dinner, we would have thrown you away thinking, oh, it's overcooked.
Bit overdone.
100%. I was exceptionally well done.
Right, well, let's get into today's episode then. So, this week, we are fixing hot-headedness. Up for it?
Let's do it.
So ready.
So one thing that's happened this week, so the Champions League semi-finals, right? Arsenal get knocked out. Obviously, I get loads of, stick, banter, as they call it.
It's only bants.
It's only bants, yeah, it's all fine.
No offence.
I'm crying in a corner, but yeah, we get loads of it, and that's fair enough. It's all part and parcel of being a football fan. You give it, you take it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As long as it's, to a certain level. But this is the thing. Fans are so petty with it, and off-air... off-air last week, Sess, you were saying that, Arsenal are some of the worst fans, aren't they? And naturally, I want to defend it.
Immediately you were like, I don't think so. Well, of course, you're one of them.
No, because again, we fix bias, and all of us, to be on this podcast, to qualify to be the, on this podcast, we have to show we're not biased, right? But one thing I've just been...
when are you guys going to start doing that, by the way? Still waiting.
I was going to say, I can't really take I'm going to hold my hands up here. I'm not unbiased. I've not joined that party yet. Sorry.
I think, as a team, we have at least one person who's not that biased, so...
That's a collectively.
So collectively, it works. So, but
as
no,
per normal,
really
Sess is
me.
holding us up. Cheers, Sess.
Yeah. No worries, guys. I'll do the hard work,
Heavy lifting.
Yeah, exactly. You guys just sit on my shoulders, don't worry.
But no, seriously, all right, guys. So it's really frustrating because it gives Arsenal fans a bad name because there's a lot of sensible Arsenal fans out there, as well as every club.
I'm yet to meet one.
Exactly, see? Because we get all the extreme views thrown in our faces and stuff, and social media's a wash. How about that? It's a wash. With
new word, eh? Word day calendar, really coming into...
I think that's the first time I've ever used that word in my life. But yeah, and people go from one extreme to the other. Where a wash.
Sorry.
And it's like in Arteta's reign, it's been, Arteta's not good enough. He shouldn't be at Arsenal. He's not. It's his first manager job. He shouldn't be in charge of such a big club and that kind of stuff. Then he starts doing quite well. Oh, it was all right. Then he has a couple of 8th place finishes. Oh no, he's not good enough. He's not. Arteta out. Then obviously the last couple of years we finished second. I apologise. I've seen fans say, I owe him an apology, and now it's Arteta out again. It drives you mad, and it's just madness. It's such short-termism with the views.
Yeah, definitely. I see that a lot because as the only unbiased guy on the podcast, and like I say, in the world really, as a football fan, I see it all the time. I always see whatever teams do well, they tend to have the worst fans of that time because then suddenly they get big-headed. They think the world's against them. Arsenal generally have been up there for the majority of the time we've been watching football, so they tend to have fans that are quite pretentious. United fans, when they were doing well, they were very pretentious. City fans recently have been very pretentious.
Liverpool fans, obviously, they just won the league and they give it a lot. They are quite loud. But again, from the outside, that you could paint them all with the same brush, but actually, it's not all the fans. But some fans have such extreme views and they're all this and that and that. They're always the victims, and I don't know. It really, really annoys me. And I've prepared a statement with my lawyer. Wow.
Oh wow.
This might be perhaps an unpopular opinion, right? But fans who are calling for Arteta to get the sack don't understand football and need to get a grip of their emotions. Real fans support their team on the bad days as well as the good.
At what point, though, can you say that he needs to get the sack? Because what if you start going on a big losing run and you are fighting for relegation with United and Spurs?
Oh, yeah. Then I might revisit.
Oh, right. All of a sudden.
But this is where the level-headedness, kind of the big picture stuff. So we reached the Champions League semi-final and we were it's evenly matched with PSG. They score an early goal in the first leg that kind of shaped the tide, to be honest. I mean, I know we don't like XG very much, but in terms of the chances next year, Arsenal were better over the two legs. We could have scored a few. Donnarumma had a great... both games really, made about 4 or 5 key saves. It could have gone either way, and that's what it is, fine margins. And fair enough, credit to PSG, brilliant, congratulations. But to get to a Champions League semi-final, to finish second, whilst being plagued by injuries, people need to consider this as a perspective. We've had 2 second-place finishes with the highest points tally last year in like 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not suddenly throw everything out, the baby with the bathwater, as they say, just get rid of everything and let's get a new manager. That's madness.
It's what I've said before about perspective, isn't it? Because whenever people talk about success for them only seems to be trophies. If you don't win a trophy, then you didn't have a successful season. Whereas I don't see it that way, because Everton, for example, we are 13th, 14th, something like that. I would actually say it's been a relatively successful season, considering
how
where
it
we've
started.
been before. How it started, how we've been for the last 3-4 years, battling relegation. We were, a couple of seasons ago, we were one game away. We were about 20-30 minutes away from being relegated.
Yes, we were watching a game, weren't we?
Yeah.
And was it Decore scored?
Decore scored, yeah. So we were so close then that actually being 14th or so, I'm happy with that. That's a successful season. We don't have to win a trophy for it. And I think Arsenal don't necessarily have to win a trophy to say that they're successful. You can have relative success competing to second place, almost winning the title.
You want to be
was it last
challenging,
season?
don't you?
Season before? Yeah, something like that. There is a certain element that you've got to say the amount of money that's been spent and the amount of time that Arteta's been given, why isn't it you haven't been able to get over the line? So I can understand that kind of argument. I don't necessarily conform to the whole Arteta should be sacked thing, considering he's an Everton legend. So,
well, absolutely, there's that reason. So that must protect him in some way.
Absolutely.
One thing about level-headedness as well is the perspective of and this is going to come up, right? You're going to start seeing this sort of rising up in the next couple of weeks. If Tottenham or Man United win it's Europa League you're in, isn't it?
Yeah.
End up winning that, have they had a better season than Arsenal? You're like 14th, 15th, 16th, whatever it is, in the league, and you win a cup, the Europa League Cup, trophy. That's not better than challenging for, getting to a Champions League semi-final and with injuries managing to still finish second, potentially third.
No.
There's no way I'm allowing that as a legitimate argument.
As a Man United fan, I know where I'd rather be. I would definitely rather be in Arsenal's position this season. But, I mean, it would be a more successful season. I think you'd probably use those terms. I wouldn't say it was a better one, but it would be a more successful one, wouldn't it? But I mean, this.
But I wouldn't want to trade positions from the Arsenal perspective. So just supporting what you just said there, both of us would want to be fighting near the title at the top and getting to a Champions League semi-final rather than going to a Europa League potentially winning that.
You would definitely enjoy a trophy, wouldn't you? Like,
oh, of course, trophies are brilliant. Yeah.
So I mean, this is part of the thing that actually I have a frustration with this heads gone thing where logic goes out of the window. It's like a revisionism. Like, so this whole thing you mentioned about Tottenham and Man United, like, obviously Arsene Wenger recently went on saying, oh, the winner of the Europa League shouldn't get Champions League. I just think it's a load of nonsense, because these have been the rules for many years now, and we've never had a problem with it in the past, and suddenly there's an issue now. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's because people are having these knee-jerk reaction, this emotional reaction to Man United and Tottenham getting into the final, and it's like, oh, it's not fair and all this stuff, and they're losing their heads over it, and it's ridiculous because they've never had a problem before. Was it, like you were saying before, Sevilla were the masters of this competition? They've won it loads of times.
Yeah.
No one's ever had a qualm with Sevilla getting in the Champions League, have they? So what's the problem now? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think they should trophy, wouldn't it? If you can't get into the Champions League.
Well, yeah, but the one thing that I think is it needs to change is not necessarily someone who wins the Europa League going to the Champions League. It's the people that fail in the Champions League are allowed to drop into the Europa League.
Yeah,
why is that? Like, oh, you did really badly, so badly, you're knocked out in the first round. So give it another go in the Europa League.
I don't think that was the case
this
season. So the new format they don't do that anymore.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
oh, right, that's all right.
That's already been fixed.
They've already listened to me.
Yeah. So they've heard you
Thank
in
goodness.
the future, and they were like, "We better do this now."
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Yeah, to not disappoint me,
I think
which is ironic because I got disappointed.
Liverpool fans need also to bear in mind the perspective as well. Just saying.
Is this because of your mate?
Well, partly that.
Yeah.
So, I have a friend who's a Liverpool fan, and it's great. Congratulations, you won the league. You've been the most consistent team. I honestly want, fair play, you deserve to win the league because of, yes, partly, you might say injuries, various other things.
There we go. There
but
it is.
We had an episode looking at lucky Liverpool. They've had little bits of luck, but they've been the best team. They deserve to win the league. I'm happy to admit that. But perspective, right? You can't compare to previous teams. That's, this is brilliant. Slot's done. Has he been the best manager that's ever had a first season? In perspective, it's been a really disappointing season for
really,
so like the standard of the teams.
Yeah.
There's so many of the big teams have dropped in quality.
That's the problem. That's the reason why you could say that Forest, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Fulham, they've all done really well. But that's largely because City, Chelsea, United, Spurs, they've all had some of the worst seasons. Yeah. So, I think standard-wise, it's been so low.
And Arteta wrongly made that comparison, didn't he?
Yeah,
with the points. Recently, he said that Liverpool have won the league with fewer points than Arsenal had in the last 2 years, because Liverpool actually won the title on 80 points or whatever it was. Arteta last year had 89 last year, 84 before that. But that's pointless. The whole idea that making that comparison, every year it changes. You've got different teams because of the promoted teams, stuff like that. Every other team, Man City, Chelsea, are at different stages of their cycle. We all understand football to different levels, right? Every fan is going to have different understandings and depth of knowledge. But you can't compare identical kind of season to season and expect it to be the same standards. They always say, this season's going to be the best. It's going to be the toughest ever.
Yeah.
What's that thing that I moaned at the start of the season? Arteta said, this season, every year it gets harder and harder. Well, no, it doesn't.
At some point, it's got to stop being harder and harder.
The life cycles of a lot of the teams you just mentioned, Cess, are at a phase where they need to rebuild, like Chelsea and City and stuff like that. United are going through a transition as well. So because of that, Liverpool
quite a long transition, really, isn't it, with United?
It's been a while.
I'm getting a bit bored of the whole transition thing.
I think we've had about 4 or 5 transitions in a transition.
Yeah. I think once you get to a point where you've got generations of players coming in, like there's a new generation of players giving a transition, I think you've got to give up on the whole idea that there's a transition. Maybe that's just your standard.
That's it now. We're just transition FC. That's just we're in a perpetual state of transition, and that's it. And that's where we are.
I do find it I do find it quite fun with United, though. However badly United have been doing, in their worst form, they're still getting into finals and winning trophies.
I love it, man.
It's quite annoying, actually.
It's because of...
One thing I will say, as long as you beat Spurs, I'm not having Spurs lift a European trophy.
Do you know what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not biased or anything, so I don't really mind as such. But it is funny to know that Spurs just can't win trophies.
Well, this is
I think we need to maintain that.
This is the thing.
The concept of Spursy and everything. United have got a lot of pressure on their shoulders, actually.
Exactly. I could not imagine a worse final opponent than Spurs, because if we don't win it, we will be the laughing stock. We will be the new Spurs. It's like, it's...
How can you lose to Spurs in a final?
It would literally just...
United will be Spursy.
It would just destroy all of our... just destroy everything. So it just can't happen. But if it does, I'll be mortified. Honestly, I'm so nervous about it. But yeah, it's what it is.
Let's fix some level-headedness. Should we get into the fixes then?
Let's do it.
Right then, chaps. So how are we going to fix level-headedness? Because a lot of fans suffer from unlevel-headedness.
Yeah, and by a lot of fans, you mean you as well, right? Because this is my fix. I think you guys are the problem. You and Dan. I know you're in my podcast. That's fair enough as my second and third. But
are we your project?
Like we said,
are we your project? Is that what this is?
I mean, James was my project for many years, but I gave up on him. So now you're my only hope. Yeah, I'm trying to change you, but that's the thing. Like we said before, I'm the only one holding up the unbiased flag in this podcast where we're supposed to be unbiased. You guys, you're just as bad as all the others.
Sorry to interrupt. What does an unbiased flag look like? What's your emblem?
Just plain white. I don't want to just play too much.
Good answer.
Yeah.
If you said blue,
it looks like I'm giving up. I know with a white flag. It's not what I'm trying to do. I just don't want to choose too many colours.
What about just like a transparent sheet? So there's literally nothing.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I might change it to that. That's a good idea.
Call it a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Look
at that.
That was a good one. I like it. Well, that's the thing, because I think when it comes to level-headedness, you can only have level-headedness if you can step away from your own bias.
Yeah.
And in football, for some reason, if you become a football fan, you're instantly taught, by the way, now that you're a football fan, you are no longer allowed to see the world in a level-headed way.
Yeah.
You have to make such a good point.
Yeah, with the whole Arsenal thing that I mentioned to you before, when I said Arsenal fans are some of the worst, the first thing you did was defend. Oh no, I don't think we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking like, well, you pretty much proved my point there. That's the thing, and it will happen with anyone. We said before that Robbie, who does AFTV, he's one of the more level-headed Arsenal fans.
I quite like
but
him,
as soon as he goes on any other social, he loses all kind of logic, and he becomes the most biased guy, like anyone else.
Yeah, I do agree.
So, and I don't really know what specifically the answer is, aside from maybe look at life outside football. You know, that's something that I do. I like loads of other sports, and I can tell with other sports there's biasness, but there's a genuine love for the sport as opposed to a particular club or a team.
Yeah.
Whereas in football, a lot of people tend to love the club more than the actual sport itself.
There is a real tribal feeling in football, isn't
Real
there?
tribal.
We've talked about it on previous episodes, and that bias is probably embedded within that. And that's, you have to defend your clan against the rivals and stuff like that, no matter what. But I feel you can still be level-headed whilst having that love for your own club.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I do that.
I
love Everton.
You love Everton,
but,
but you demonstrate that you can actually, like, we'll be watching Everton and you'd say, oh, that was a penalty, what's Tarkovsky doing? Or whatever, you know, you have to be able to do that.
I'm the biggest critic of Ashley Young. What's he still doing in our team?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's being able to, it's putting yourself in a position where you're not so blinded by your own club. You've got to think about it. You say from outside football, but think about it from outside your own club. That's the real art, and it takes practice to do it.
It does.
Because as a kid, I feel when I was a kid, you know, immature views, and you don't really have a real perspective on life and that kind of stuff, and it's, we're the best team ever and that sort of stuff. But if you take a step back and just sort of say, actually, we might not have been, you know. Let's put this from someone else's point of view. If I'm a Man United fan or a Chelsea fan or whatever, I probably won't think that. Just who cares? Stop battling with everyone. Enjoy it. Banter's great. We all have a load of fun. But the level-headed side of football, it's kind of lost in the madness.
It's over the top, because if you actually take it outside of football and put it into any other aspect, if you think about it in terms of your own country, so you could love your country. And then if someone says something bad about you, what are you going to do? Start attacking them? Because imagine if your love and hatred and tribalism in football translates to everything else in life. You'd be arrested. You'd be in prison. That's the kind of thing. That's the way I look at it.
It's like when you look at patriots of a country, you were just saying about countries there. Like, if you say like England, for example, you know, greatest nation on it. No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What we're seeing with over in America, you know.
Yeah.
Trump and all, that's a great example, isn't it? We're the greatest nation.
Yeah, that's it. The nationalism going over in America is exactly how I see football fans, and this is what makes me irate about football fans.
And you can't. You know what is so annoying about it? I know this should have been in the problem section of this episode. But is that you can't have as many good conversations with people.
Yeah.
The friend of mine that's a Liverpool fan has realised that he can only talk to me about football if he actually comes across quite sensible, and he actually can be. He actually can be sensible.
That's not what you told me in rehearsal.
Just
don't repeat what I said.
on that Trump thing quickly. So Trump supporters in America, right? If you were to like give them a football team, who do you think they would support?
Oh, probably Chelsea.
Yeah,
Chelsea. Probably.
They come across like Chelsea fans, right? Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does anyone else have a fix, by the way?
I do. So where you guys were actually talking about like not having like a team or being less tribal and stuff like that, that actually goes into my fix. So my problem was with that revisionism that Arsene Wenger applied, but obviously he has his own bias with his, you know, sort of Arsenal history and stuff. I think that pundits should no longer be ex-players, but like ex-referees. Because referees have to be impartial, right? Because at the moment, the impartial referees are doing ref watch. So there's the one team you can give them to be biased about, you're giving them, right? So if they're going to be biased about a team, but they're going to be biased about refs and refereeing decisions, so that's all nonsense. So as you've got all these pundits now, referee pundits, put them to good use. Get them to talk about the football instead, and then use ex-players to talk about the referees. Swap them over.
I like it. I like the idea of
nice.
Yeah, Mark
creative
Clattenburg
thought,
actually is a good talker, so I quite like. I wouldn't mind listening to him, and then we'll get Martin Keown in the ref box.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. There'd just be gives you the players just like absolutely going off after every decision. It'd be really high quality entertainment.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is entertainment, isn't it? And I personally don't mind bias. Like, we have our biases, but it's being able to sort of have that level-headedness. As I said, I know I'm biased, so if I could admit that PSG earned the right to go through in that semi-final. You know, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm not so blinded like Ty from AFTV. And so, you'd hear these people that just defend no matter what. You have to kind of accept that some... Excuse me. I'm dying.
He's
Sorry,
allergic to saying bad things about Arsenal.
Okay,
yeah. He wasn't like this before. Yeah.
I'm getting a rash. I'm going to sneeze again.
Oh. See, he didn't sneeze until he started saying PSG deserve to go through.
Yeah, it's really, really... He's obviously coming up in some kind of reaction to it.
Yeah.
You better edit all that out.
Oh, no, I'm leaving those in.
So, yeah, personally, I don't
get
want
him aperitifs.
What I was going to say was football would be boring without bias. So I think bias actually brings a bit more depth to it, a bit more excitement and fun. But at the same time, it's knowing that bias is like you're wearing a shirt, you're wearing an influence. So you need to be able to sort of consider, okay, do I need to... How do I word this?
I think it's the biasness? Being biased is fine because that's the same in any other sport. Otherwise, no one will support any other team or player or anything. It's not necessarily to do with that. It's letting the bias blind you, which is something unique in football. The whole thing about uniqueness of football, it's always negative whenever we talk about something unique about football because that's
Seems to be.
Yeah, it blinds football fans to the point that they suddenly start thinking they're the best team even though they're not, and then they would become very tribal and aggressive. You can't go into a rival's pub, for example, without feeling a threat towards your life, whereas any other sport... couldn't care less.
Fun. And this was the thing, when you said Arsenal fans were the worst, that was after your experience in a pub, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You know, and to feel like you go to a pub and you feel like you're not going to enjoy as much football because of the environment you're in, that is where these fans that aren't level-headed ruin the game. So this is genuinely a big problem.
Yeah, I agree with that. And people need to be more like me, is what we're saying.
So
thanks,
that's
guys.
our final fix is be more like Cess, apparently.
Yeah, I like it.
Maybe a bit less of a dictator, but yeah.
Yeah, again with that first syllable. All right,
It really accents it, doesn't it? I picked up on it more this week now, Cess. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
I've been rehearsing. Right, well, shall we get into some fantasy football chat then, guys? We got a couple of weeks left. Should we get some of John's juicy tips? Very juicy.
Level your tips on me, John.
John's juicy tips.
Alright, that is the sound of thousands of Bristol City supporters after losing 3-0 in the playoffs. We are down, but we are never out. Come on you Reds, ooh-ah, ooh-ah. Anyway, this is not a Bristol City podcast, so I'd better give you some tips. In defence, it's Matty Cash for Villa. He's less than 2% owned, so he's a big differential. He has good attacking numbers, and Villa have 4 clean sheets in their last 7. In midfield, who shall I pick? I think I'd rather Kevin Schade for Brentford. He and his whole team are in red-hot form, and he has 4 goals in his last 3 games. Plus, he's less than 3% owned. And up front, it's the last game at Goodison Park for Everton. And they've got Southampton, so I'm expecting them to score a few goals. And I'm betting on Beto to get one of them. Juicy.
Thanks for that, John. As always, very level-headed John there. I was trying to think. John, the juicy tip guy.
Yeah, well, he is very juicy.
Yeah, his tips are very juicy. So, Dan, you are literally one place behind me now. Well, currently at point of recording, we're still a couple of games of the weekend still to go. But
just to remind everyone that they are basically the Man United and Spurs of
Yeah,
our
we are.
fantasy football.
this is the
We
thing:
are
like,
indeed.
relegation's already decided. The title's pretty much decided. You'd think that
Does that
John,
make James
who was in
Spurs?
second place,
Does that make James Spurs? Is James Spurs in that analogy? Can we make James Spurs?
Oh no, I think actually you're Spurs,
Oh.
which does mean that James is United.
does mean that I'm
but
United.
It's
Oh,
lose-lose for
jeez.
James, to be fair. I'm happy with
It
that.
really is.
So yeah, 7 points the difference at the moment going into the last couple of games of the weekend.
It was
so.
10, so I've clawed back 3 points.
Well, there we go.
Oh, there we go then.
Ah. Oh, I've also come up with a plan as to how to do my forfeit in a way that will give me some level of satisfaction. So, yeah, all will become clear.
I feel as
put
though
it that
he's
way.
going to have a Dennis Bergkamp shirt and he's going to ruin it in some way.
No. I'm going to have an Arsenal shirt and I'm going to ruin it in a way, but the
wow.
way will become clear.
Well, at the very
Okay.
least, I'm glad that he's accepted his fate, that he will finish bottom out of our little personal
No,
plan.
this
He
is-
just wants to enjoy it if he does lose, I suppose.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm making a plan. It's like an escape plan, if you see what I mean. So if it does all go wrong and I come last, I've got a plan to help make it more bearable.
Right.
Nice.
And we'll get that all on social media as well, so we can all watch the humiliated Dan get drenched in ice bucket water. Ice bucket water?
Ice bucket water.
There you go.
Yeah. Not a bucket of ice water.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is to raise awareness for mental health and all the charities and stuff, so it'll be a good cause. So yeah, we'll get you all across the internet, Dan. So
Can't
well
wait.
done on accepting that fate. Thanks for listening, guys. It's been a good episode, isn't it?
It's been all right, yeah.
Remember, be level-headed, everyone.
Be more like Cess.
Yeah.
Get a t-shirt saying that.
Be like Cess.
Hopefully we've reassured you that football is fixable. All right, and have a great week. It's goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
That's goodbye from me.